Hello and welcome. This is Mayank Shekhar, and you're on the podcast, The Bombay Film Story. On this episode, we're going to hear the story of one of India's top artists and craftsmen who has finished a 30-year journey in films and is still very much right there, thick in the game. And we're going to hear this story from the man himself, that cinematographer Ravi K. Chandran. Now, how does one describe Ravi K. Chandran? Quite simply, he's the eyes and the brain behind the lens of some of the most iconic films, plus blockbusters of Bombay cinema. Dil Chahta Hai, Virasat, Black, Yuva, Fanaa. More recently, My Name is Khan, Gajni, Rab Ne Bana Di Jodi, or even more hardcore ones like Student of the Year 2 or Coolie Number 1. I could just go on and on and on, but this is not a CV, it's a conversation. And thank you so much, Ravi, for joining us on the show.
Thank you for welcoming me into the show. I've been hearing your podcast a lot. It's been interesting.
I have to tell you one thing, Ravi. This is the first time we're actually seeing each other on the screen. But the first time I heard of you was many years ago. I was in a newsroom back in then. I can't remember exactly which newsroom. And the editor, who was not hugely into Bombay cinema or film industry per se, was a film buff, of course, came and told me once that you should cultivate cinematographer Ravi Chandran as a source, because I hear he has the most fascinating stories to tell from the sets. Why do you think she said that to me?
I don't know. I've been doing a lot of films. I've been talking too much, I believe, in those days. Yeah. When you're young, you're reckless mostly. I was a Ram Gopal Verma of cinematographers, maybe.
Right, right, right.
So when you're young, you do a lot of. You also come across so many stories and it happens in the set, and it's really funny stories. I look at my life mostly as a not as a very serious filmmaker or anything. I look at it like a journey. I can do certain things which people appreciate, and also I enjoy being on a set and doing something creative. And it has, unlike any other job, if you're a filmmaker, if you make one good film, it stays for a longer time. The shelf life is longer. That is one thing I realized. In a person's career, uh, of say my career is 55, 54 films I've done. You can hand pick some 8 to 9 films which you will show, proudly. So this journey is quite long. So all this journey, you notice things in a funny way. Otherwise, if you take yourself very seriously, then you go nowhere.
I'm going to start with one particular film. I'll tell you why. Because for the viewer and the listeners who are in this podcast right now, I must let them know that this is being recorded on June 10, 2021, which is exactly 2 months away from 20 years of a really iconic film that Ravi K. Chandran shot. That film has grown over a period of time. It's called Dil Chahta Hai. And Ravi, I'm going to actually go a little deep dive on this first before I get on to anything else. I want to know from you, you finished 30 years. When you were making Dil Chahta Hai, at least when the film came out, you'd finished 10 years in the movie industry. What was about Dil Chahta in terms of the way you shot it, in terms of the way it came out, in terms of the way the crew that you were surrounded by, that was very different from stuff that you'd done in those 10 years before that?
Amir started this in Lagan, extensive planning and first AD system, sync sound, all these things happen in Lagan. Then here Zoya and Rima were the ADs, and they worked in a lot of foreign films. So when the Excel film, the company has started with Farhan, and these two were ADs, Zoya and Rima. So they planned it out like an international film first time. So I came from a South film where full drama was happening, like in the sense, there's no schedule, nothing. Suddenly there's a schedule being given one year before somebody is showing you location. In South London, we go and see location for tomorrow shooting tonight. We'll go on, they'll show torch and all. Sometimes they show sometimes. We have grown up like that. Suddenly, when somebody is telling you to see the location 1 year before, I think, are you nuts? Who's going to see 1 year before? But they took us to Australia and did that. So, and that is the first time I'm meeting a guy called Mulchand, who's a gaffer. So I never heard of a gaffer in South. Gaffer, grip, the guys who's fixing the, track and trolleys or anything, these guys are not existing there. So we are seeing those guys. So this is the eye opener for me, like, this style of shooting and all. That set the trend for all of us, for the Hindi cinema later on. Even the seniors like Yash Chopra followed the first AD system and all. So uh, that film success actually changed Hindi cinema on the whole. Before that, I was doing a film like Major Saab and all. There's no planning, nothing. Everything was going wrong. Like they'll write in the set, the scenes will be written on the set in the morning, and they'll discuss. Then they'll shoot the scene. Those kind of things are done. Here, the script has been given 1 year ahead of time. So that actually changed my perspective about the filmmaking, and also the art direction, the cinema, production design for the film, uh, by Susan, who has done Gully Boys and all. So she's fantastic. She has done amazing sets which nobody could make out. Like, it's a set when you walk into the room. Like, so when I remember Mr. Ashok Mehta came when I was shooting, and he looked at the lighting. He said, "Better, fantastic lighting. It looks so real. Let me go up and see what you have done." And so he went up on the terrace and saw and came down. So he was very curious what I have done and that lighting. So he was very impressed. He was like guru for us. And so when he said that, first few days of shooting, when he walked in and said this, gave me a confidence to go in that route.
In terms of the way you shot the film, and I know it's been 20 years, the number of fans have grown of this film, and it's been discussed, quite closely, quite minutely. And one of the things that a lot of film buffs suggest, which was different about this film in terms of its shot taking, was that they find that this is one of those rare movies where there were not that many close-ups. There were a lot of establishing shots, a lot of mid shots also, where there are three characters, all three are on the frame, in the frame, and which makes it easier for you to watch the movie again and again, because the second time you're watching it, maybe this time you look at one of the characters, the second time you'll watch it, through looking at only Seth, the third time was that a conscious call? Because I know people are discussing it now.
During this pandemic, this year and last year also, so many directors called me and said, I was bored. I watched Dil Chahta Hai, and what work you guys have done those days. Like, I'm really surprised. And like, for example, Ravi were called on the other day and said, I showed it to my kids. They also enjoyed the film as much as I enjoyed then. So that film had a timeless quality. We never realized when we were shooting it. We shot it like a film. And Farhan also very well planned and all those things. Though he was very new, like, first film it was. So he was a little open to discussion, composition and all. So I'm a 10-year-old experienced guy, so he utilized my experience into his storytelling. And what happened in that process, we never had conflict. So if there is a scene when this kind of good actors are there, Saif and, Amir and Akshay Khanna, so when they are sitting there, when he plays the camera, their performance holding their shot. They don't need to cut too many close-up, too many tracks to create a. And when you read the script also, I read the script first time. I said, "There's no dramatic scene in the film in the first half. There's no heroine in the film in the first half. She comes in the second half. First half, she comes in one song, that disco song. One sequence is there. Then she's not there in their life. In a romantic movie where Amir Khan and Preeti is not there in the first half completely. You don't realize that. You know, when I read the script, in the first half, there's nothing about their love story or nothing about the hero. It's about the friends' affair. Akshay Khanna's affair it is. It's that is the internal point also, the slap. So when I read the script, there's no scene for friendship. For answer, you don't need. You don't need scenes for friendship and all. Like, he came to Chennai to meet me to tell the story. If you tell a story as a story, there's no story actually. So I said, let me read the script. And I read the script. Then I really liked the way it was written. It's funny and all those. So I had a big film like Devdas offered to me that time. But I wanted to take this. My heart was going for this. So I said no to Sanjay Leela Bhansali. He was shocked actually because I'm saying no to a bigger film. And whereas this is a new company, new director, and Sanjay Leela Bhansali, the earlier cameraman, won a national award for Abdul Jiket. I remember I met Anil Kapoor in a party and he said, "Yeah, how's this boy doing?" Like we were shooting that film. I think Shabanaji's 50th birthday or something. We went to their house. Anil Kapoor asked me, "How's this boy? How's he directing?" I said, "I feel like I'm working with somebody like Mani Ratnam." Who, he said, "How can you compare a first film director with Mani Ratnam?" I said, "I worked with Mani Ratnam from his first film as an assistant also. So I know how Mani used to approach a scene, how he get the performance with the actors. So I can sense that kind of thing with this boy." So he said, "That's a too much of a compliment for a young boy." Like, he thought because Farhan was known for as a brat when he was young, like so they all thought this guy is not going to make it big, you know, and this guy is directing, and I'm in between the shoot, I'm telling about him, my judgment, irony of the thing. You think, this guy is not going to make it. Suddenly, he comes into the most iconic film in the industry. Talking about Mani Ratnam, incidentally, Mani Ratnam saw the first final print when it happened in Chennai. So I asked Farhan, can I show it to Mani sir? So I was shooting Mani Ratnam's film that time, next film. So he said, okay, show it to me. So I told Mani sir, I've done a good film. The young boy has done. Can you see the film? So he said, okay, I'll come and see the film. I showed him the film. He came alone. So he was alone in the theater. When he came out, he said, mind blowing film, fantastic he has done. Call him down. So I called him and gave the phone to Mani sir, and Mani sir spoke for long about it. And he said, it's going to be a cult film. Don't even listen to anybody because some actors and all felt the edit has to be faster, quicker, funkier and all. Mani said, don't even touch it. That expressions, that pause in between when they are all laughing, the laugh is held. That kind of length you need. That is very beautifully edited. Don't even change it. Whoever says this, he said that. Eventually, editor won a Filmfare Award for that, and and he's a great editor, of course. Sri Prasad is fun.
That's right. But even from a technique point of view, in terms of shooting the film, Ravi, were there things that you tried in the film that you hadn't before? Like a lot of people suggest that time lapse, for instance, was not a very common thing, or at least a lot of people hadn't seen time lapse. Of course, now with people do time lapse on their iPhones, so that's another world altogether. But back then, was that the first time you used time lapse, for instance?
When Farhan told me this situation of this song, that uh, so I said, this guy is in Australia, the girl is somewhere else. So they parted, and his time is not going. Sometimes time stands still. He is there in one place. He doesn't know how long he stood there. He said, "How do you communicate that?" I said, "I can do something. I'll do every day some shots." So when we are shifting location and all, I'll tell Amir, just stand there, I'll take a shot. I'll just shoot it in 4 frames. So, and in front of our hotel, there's a tunnel and people are walking. So we were waiting for the bus to go. In one bus, we were all traveling. So we were waiting for the things getting loaded and all this sound department. Everybody's loading. Preeti has to come, all these things. So I'll tell Amir to just stand there in the tunnel and made him because the crowd will come from the railway station. So I just put the camera. I keep shooting these kind of shots. Every day I was shooting different kind of shots. When we are shooting some other song, I'll take a shot of this. So all these things I was shooting randomly. The edit they used it communicated the way what he was thinking. That the lost in the so other things he was doing scene wise and all he was doing, but this time lapse and mood shots where Twilight is sitting, he is walking, the taxis are there, he is walking by the taxis, and I kept him on the edge of the frame also in the composition and all. So you feel he's going to go out of the frame. He's in the edge. If you look at the song now, he is always in the right edge or left edge. He's going to go out of the frame. A lot of empty space, and compositionally also I was doing like that. So that is the first time I done those kind of things. Even I think first time we are doing this, we are shooting in cinemascope lenses, anamorphic lenses, and we shot super telephoto lenses in between the shot. So it looks stretched. Everybody's jumping into the lens. It looks stretched. That kind of shot. Even neon lights and all we used for the neon makeup we put. And so we had done all this strobe lights, and they said in a song, that disco song. So that became a benchmark in disco song also.
I think the most iconic moment, I'm presuming, that has survived over 20 years would, of course, be the back shot of these three friends. The camera just moves up, and there's that fort, Chapora Fort. It's in fact called Dil Chata Hai Fort in Goa now. Take us through that moment. Was that something that you had planned from before, or is this a moment that just happened while you were shooting?
I think Farhan has been going to Goa a lot those days. So he had an image like that. So he was telling me the shot. So they're sitting there and looking at they're talking about the ship there. One philosophical talk happens, and it breaks into funny mode there. There's a momentary seriousness they'll do in the film. Throughout the film, that's what it is. They pull Saif's legs through the film. So that is kind of short it is. So he was telling that. Then I said, I'll go low. You have the sky. Then slightly I come up. You see, reveal the sea. That is the idea I gave. Otherwise, the composition of placing position and all done by Farah. So we never thought this film is going to be some iconic film or anything while shooting. We were thinking some young film. It may do well or it may not do well. Because previously, if you look at Amir's earlier two films, Man and Mela was the filmmaker. He is not one superstar that time. There are two flops you give. There's a little low interest will be there for others. That kind of period. And Saif is not also a very big actor at that time. He was a young actor. Akshay Khanna came as a with bald head first time in that film. Yeah, I was composing him cutting his head. If you see the film now, his head will be cut, forehead will be cut. So I was composing him little more stylishly and that kind of thing. So we enjoyed shooting the film basically. That that laughter and the set and or that culture of new style of working itself a new experience for us. The good thing is, after 20 years also people are talking about the film is a great thing, because somebody was asking, did you get any award for that? How many you would have won all the awards? I said I didn't get single nomination also. I didn't get a single nomination. Now people are saying, so now people are talking about that cinematography even now. And that time I didn't. So I said that is itself an award. Some film won a Filmfare or National Award that year. You're not remembering those films. At least you're remembering the film which I done with. It's like even in Hollywood and all, Godfather didn't get an Oscar for cinematography. Even nomination it didn't get. Even Seven also didn't get a nomination, or a Fight Club. If you do some different kind of work, people get thrown off, maybe. So it takes time.
Ravi, do you remember the first day of shoot? Because you were also, while you were experienced yourself, you were dealing with a first-time director who's never made a movie before, and if I'm not mistaken, he hadn't been like a Bollywood person in terms of having been AD for too long either. Do you remember the first day of shoot? Like, there's a young kid who's going to be the director. What was that like?
No, no, Farhan was a super confident guy. He was a super confident guy in the sense because he was very clear about what he wants. He wrote the script. It has gone through all kind of changes, and they're very well prepared, rehearsed. The actors also knows their line, and so they know what costume is going to. So there's no confusion in the set. There's a lot of calmness, and they were and sync sound. so everybody is quiet. So normally in a film set earlier, like what I said, like in other Hindi films, that time everybody was shouting, Mike, the people will be shouting, there's that one madness used to be there. Here the set was very calm, like because we can't even walk. So we are given rubber soles for the shoes. Mobiles has to be kept in switch off mode and all these things. So that is a very well disciplined set. So it was not bad start. It's a great start actually. But bad start in another way is worst thing happened to me is we got a brand new lens, brand new camera, and we shot and we processed in Chennai. And the Chennai laboratory called us and said, you have to change the camera because their camera only, but they said there's something wrong with the camera. First they shot whatever you shot is little out of focus, so they sent a print, and we were panically watching it in many theaters. Half the theaters are out of focus by itself, so we can't see. Actually, that is what happened. They said it is out of focus. So we changed the camera, we shot, continue shooting. They sent this damn camera to Germany because they got it from there, brand new camera. They sent it there. They said it's perfectly all right. They came back after a week. Here, what happened is the lab called us. We used the first day shooting footage in the film. It was not out of focus. It was not the fault of the camera. It was a micromillimeter. Something happened in the printing time. So whole footage came as out of focus. So lab chief thought it is completely out of focus. Then they fixed that thing. You know, other films also say had same issues maybe. So they figured out it is not the camera, it is the printing. But that was a scary part. Now with the digital, you are a bit safe. You see the footage then and there. Only nightmare is that DIT is a very important person in the set. But here they send a camera attendant who knows something about the computer. He just transfer it and keep it. So you can erase that card also accidentally. So that is the only scary part here. Otherwise, film wise, when you shoot somewhere outdoor, reaching it to Bombay, process it, print it, till then you are crossing your fingers. You don't know what you're going to get surprised. So this film also, this all these films are not color corrected by post or anything like that. Digitally not color corrected. So these films are shot exactly what it has to. We are seeing. So you have to be very careful in shooting. Give a consistency for the film, which happens through 6 months or 7 months at that time.
Ravi, we'll get into the finer points of technology and what's changed over 30 years. But I'm right now at the point where we've heard the Dil Chahta Hai story. I'm now interested in the Ravi K. Chandran story as a cinematographer, as a DOP. Is DOP a term that is used only in India, or is it a global thing, or is it cinematographer everywhere else?
See, some people call cinematographers, some people call director of photography. I think the director of photography term comes from coming from if you have multiple cameras, you are directing the whole camera crew. Maybe that way it is. Yeah, it's a DOP is a very cool thing to say. Cinematographer. uh,
I totally agree. I think DOP sounds far more dope.
Yeah, when I went to get twice I went to get award on the stage. I'm not telling which award. They normally give the cinematography award in the beginning only when actors are at home. First award they'll give. So some guy will come and give who doesn't even know what award it is. So he hears it is a choreography. So cinematography he thinks it's choreography and he'll say which song. So I'm saying no song. Stage this is the conversation we'll be having. When you receive the award, when you walk out, that guy will be asking, which song you got this award? Sir, it's not cinematography. Oh, cinematography. Camera, like that.
But Ravi, starting with your story, I mean, at some level, your own story is linked to your brother's, if I'm not mistaken. Your story of turning into DOP, in the sense that your brother was a cinematographer before you, was much older than you. He had joined the film industry. He had gone to FTIA. Would that be correct? Would that be accurate?
He was a legendary cinematographer in Malayalam industry. And he has shot Mani Ratnam first two films also. in Tamil and Malayalam. So he is a very famous cameraman, like in those days in Malayalam industry. Became a cameraman when he was 19 years old. He was studying second year in Film Institute. He shot his first film, which won a national award and all. So he has become a one black and white days onwards. He has become one cult cinematographer, and he started ISC. He's a president of founder of ISC. Um, he passed away last year. So, the thing is, I grown up in a house where uh, I hear about Truffaut, Godard, and all when I was young. All this 70s new wave films. So you hear about 400 blows and eight and a half Fellini and all this conversation. I've been watching normal MGR Shivaji films and Tamil films. That time I'm hearing all these things. So I'm grown up with this. Then I came in college. I stayed with him. In his house, all kind of books will be there. He's a very very serious reader. So he used to read a lot of. He had a phenomenal amount of books and magazines and even Asterix, Obelix, Tintin. All these things been introduced to me from him by him. So I grown up with my brother in the college days in the house and in his flat in Chennai, where I meet all these young actors like Mammootty and Mohanlal used to be young boys used to come to meet him and also all these actors hanging around and he is one cult figure. So I and he had cameras at home. So I grown up playing with those cameras and he's an artist. He paints. So I also started painting. I also do some sketches and paintings and also it started like that. So that was a eye opener for me, like for all international films and everything.
So when you were growing up, the fact that you had 400 blows on one side and Truffauts and then MGR on the other, was there any particular influence or anyone that you were totally besotted by in terms of whether a cinematographer, that was your brother of course, but anybody's work that just truly blew your mind at a very young age, Ravi?
Very young age, Balu Mahendra, obviously. Balu Mahendra is when I was in college, Balu Mahendra came into Tamil industry, and he has done one film called Adiyada Kolangal, so which blew my mind. Like that kind of cinematography I've never seen. Then started noticing, and for your information, only in South India, I don't know now, when we were all, say a couple of years back, say 10 years back, 15 years back, people used to clap when a cinematographer name comes. So that kind of recognition was given to us. Uh, so Balu Mahendra name, Santosh Shivan name comes on screen, PC Sriram name comes on screen, people used to clap you know so that is a big you know um, appreciation.
Ravi, do you mean like a regular mainstream audience,
Mainstream audience, that is what I'm saying.
like a Kamal Hassan film or come to watch a Rajni film?
Yeah, Rajinikanth film and they'll watch a cameraman name, they'll clap. So PC Sriram he's a legendary cameraman, like no Santosh Shivan is a legendary cameraman, so their name come, people clap
Interesting,
you know
interesting.
So that is a very that happens only in South India. I even told this in Poland, where the camera image festival is there. In the stage, I went and told this. I come from a country where a cinematographer name is appear on a screen, people clap appreciation. There's a fan following.
Did that happen to you with your first film onwards itself, Ravi? And just to let the audience know, it's 30 years because it's 30 years to 1991, which is also 30 years to Shaji Kailas's Kilu Kampeti, which is
Kilkampati,
your
yeah.
Kilu Kampeti, which is your first film. And I think the Bombay connection there is that Suchitra Krishnamurti is in that movie, who is subsequently turned out to be a Bombay actor. How did you get your first film, Ravi? How did that happen?
I worked with my brother as an assistant. Then I met Rajiv Menon. He called me to do some clash work. He was shooting a film, and he was directing some TV commercials that time. And Mr. Ashok Mehta and all came to shoot. And that time he said, "Can you shoot for a couple of days for his film?" So I went and shot his film. He saw the rushes. And he said, "Can you work with me?" So I left my brother. I thought I'll do TV commercials. I learned something new, and I came and joined Rajiv Menon as an assistant. Though he's a friend, but we all same age group. So, but I worked with him as an assistant. So I was operating camera with him and those kind of things. That time I met a friend of mine who was an EP in the train, and he said, "Are you ready to shoot a film?" I said, "Yeah, of course." So he said, "Come and meet me in the hotel in the morning." Reached Chennai in the morning 6 o'clock. He said 10 o'clock you come there. So I went there, and Shaji Kailas was there. He said, he's directing a film. I know Shaji before as an assistant also. So he said he's directing a film, so and so. But you have done a lot of ads. Any girl who can speak, who's willing to do a Malayalam film, some new face. So I said we used to shoot this coffee or something, and she acted in those times. And she's a Tamilian, so she can manage Malayalam also. So I'll talk to them. So I called one model coordinator called Kavita Krishnamurthy, and who used to do all our Rajiv's ads and all. So I called her from Rajiv's office, and she said, "Come here, I'll introduce her." And then she introduced me. I went to their house and uh, told her the story and signed her. So, in my first film, I'm going to sign the heroine in Bombay. So, the director hasn't seen her. So, they've seen only the TV commercial. So, she came and she did. We shot the film in 21 days, and the film is over. So it's like that. So that's how I got the film. When I shot for 2 3 days, I got my next film because somebody went and told this is a boy who's shooting. He's on fire. Like you should come and see. Some actors went and told it to because in Ernakulam when you're shooting, 10 shooting will be happening. This actor who's acting with us will go there and do another scene. Then we'll go and do another scene and we'll come back. They'll be acting in some 10 films at the same time. So, yeah, all these character actors, no. So they'll be doing one day work here, one day work there, half a day work here. Like morning, he'll come for 2 hours, finish this, he'll go on like that. Even Mamuti used to do that.
So basically, the word spread. The word
Word
spread that
spread and word spread
there's a
and there's
guy on fire.
some different lighting because I come from I came from an advertising background, so my lighting is very different from for Malayalam industry that time. So they said some flamboyant guys, flashy. Like even now, I think my lighting is always flashy. I'm not a realistic cinematographer. I don't believe in that kind of lighting. Lighting has to tell the story. You bring them into a world which you are telling the audience to come in. So that world need not be real, because people are singing and dancing. Why the hell lighting has to be real? I don't understand. So the lighting has to be make believe lighting. The world. Suppose if you take a Dilwale, it's not realistic lighting or anything. It's its own world. You say take a Sanjay Leela Bansali's film, any film. The lighting is not real.
But also depends if at least in your case also Ravi. I mean, when you do a film like Firak, you're not going to light it the same way as you would do.
No, even no. See, that's what I'm trying to say. When people are singing and dancing, I don't need to do the realistic lighting. See, when I'm doing Gajini, I don't need to do realistic lighting. When I do a Firag or a Hope or Ram, one film I did, without any light we shot, we can shoot. It's not a big deal. So what your imagery is creating an emotion is what matters. For example, Dilchate is not a realistic lighting. Or a Virasat is not a realistic lighting. Or My Name is Khan is not a realistic lighting. Black is not a realistic lighting. Even Yuva is not a realistic lighting.
I got you on that. Ravi, for you, in terms of your relationship with Bombay, Virasat in 1997, Priyadarshan's film, and actually the story was by Kamal Hassan himself. He'd acted in the film in the Tamil version was Thevar Magan. I get a sense that you were well known by now in the South because of the work that you've done. Was this your breakout moment so far as North was concerned, or Bombay in any case? Would Virasat be that?
Yeah, Virasat is the biggest film for me. Because at that time people were not doing these warm tones in Bombay because no actors used to come in the morning and no director used to come in the morning to shoot anything. So we were shooting only in the mornings and evening lights. You know, if you see Virasat now, even now, the tones are warm and it's not color corrected by post or digitally. It is short on that time. So we used to go at 4 o'clock in the morning. Anil Kapoor used to come at 4 o'clock, and we used to wait for the light to break in, and we start shooting 2 3 scenes per portion. So next day morning again go and continue those kind of things. So 3 scenes will finish in 2 days, but we'll be shooting only in the morning. Like so, the imagery is images will be beautiful, like so visually stunning. Any place in the morning it looks nice, morning and evening light. So that is why if you look at a Maniratnam film, he shoots in the morning and evening light mostly, and you can see that huge difference between a Maniratnam film and any other film. So you have to put that effort to, because in Europe and any other foreign country, Western countries, the light travels in an angular way. Here, at 8 o'clock, the sun is on top light. So you have to shoot in the morning light. For example, in Black, where everybody is going to the church in the beginning on opening scene, we shot every day. We used to go at 3 o'clock in the morning, reverse the whole thing. We shoot when the light just breaks in the mountain, and we shot in that time for 3 4 days. And by 7 o'clock, we'll pack up in the morning. Sunlight will come. We can't shoot. So we are shooting like that.
Interesting. So basically, for the warm tones, what you're looking at is either dusk or dawn, because that's when India looks most beautiful. Would you agree?
Yes. Otherwise, the heat and dust.
Right, right. You mentioned Mani Ratnam, Ravi, and I'm curious here also in terms of the impact he had on Bombay films. If I'm not mistaken, correct me if I am. Now, in 1991, Rosa comes. Of course, it's a Tamil film, but widely watched even in the north for a variety of reasons. Music being a very important element of it. Now, that's the first time a lot of North Indian audiences actually see a film where cinematography or the look is not absent, it's not invisible. It's quite in your face. The work in terms of the lighting, in terms of the very look itself. Would you agree? Because thereafter, I noticed, and I'm sure others have as well, cinematographers from down south being extremely well sought after up in Bombay, whether it's PC Sriram, there's you, of course, KV Anand, CK Muridharan, Rajiv Ravi, Natty. Would you think that Roja, in a certain sense, was that opening of a door?
Even now, Manigandan, Ravi Verman, all of them are from South only. Who has done Barfi, Ravi Verman, Manigandan. So Manush, so many people, Ayanka Bose, all these people are from South only. That is because all the production designers used to come from Bengal. Even now, all these people are Dadas only comes. So the artistic people come from that side, and cinematography people come from south. Strangely, because we get a lot of appreciation here, so we experiment a lot. So we are bold about doing things. We are not constrained by, and we don't have this gaffer, first AD system, nothing. We have nothing, and we make films. Like for a film like Joji or Jallikattu and all, you can never do a film like that in Bombay because so many restrictions. Production will come and talk from the. Here they are doing it with complete freedom, and because it's a low budget. But this first aid system, all these things will restrain you in a certain way. So control you. So you cannot be creatively think, okay, I'll do this. Light is good. Come here, change the dress, and we'll do this. They don't do it. They'll say no, it's not in the schedule. The costume is not there. It is in the van. Some shit like that will happen. Here you say light is beautiful, change it, they'll change it, then they shoot that thing, that is when you get the magical shots. For example, in Dil Chahta Hai, the Tanai song end shot, I was shooting a song of Janaki, that song I was shooting in the railway track. Preeti and Amir will be singing. That day, the Steadicam was there. I told Amir, can you change it to me? They said, no, no, the van is somewhere under. I said, go and get it. I want it. So they went and got it. And Amir removed the clothes on the railway station only. And he changed it. And he was walking with a jacket like this, and the sunset is happening. And I shot that shot. So I was adamant to do that shot because that sunset was net. Amir understood that and did that. If he says, no, I can't do it tomorrow, we'll schedule it, we'll plan it, we'll take permission. That is a long process. So then I quickly take 5, 6 shots in the railway station itself. He's waiting. Train is passing by. One train comes in Miller crossing, and one board was there. He was sitting. I made him sit on the bench. All these 2, 3 shots I quickly shot in that dress. But that was not planned for that day. They reluctantly gave this costume to me. That is what I'm trying to say. That because that system is so rigid, has to be done, this has to be planned, and if you get a nice light, you can't instinctively shoot in Bombay. Here you can do it. So that's why this magical films happens.
But Ravi, I know that I mean, I think right now the best movies, without doubt in any film buff's mind, is being made in Malayalam. And you mentioned Joji, and there's so many phenomenal examples of that level is something else at the moment. But when you're looking at a mainstream film, of a hardcore mainstream big budget film, and you take someone like a Mani Ratnam who comes from Chennai, you worked with him on a couple of films. As a director to work with, how is he dramatically different from other directors you work with in Bombay, for instance?
I worked almost all the top directors in Bombay, almost. Not the new generation, maybe Raju Rani I haven't worked, or MTS Ali I haven't worked. Otherwise, I worked with most of them, almost all the, from Siddharth Anand to Kunal Kohli to Karan Malhotra to Aditya Chopra, Karan Johar, and all. So, of all the directors I worked, Sanjay Leela Bansali and Mani Ratnam are the only visual directors, I would say, visually conscious directors. Others are narrative stories and music. Some people are going interested in music. Some people are interested in action. Some people are interested in only the story. Some people are interested in performance detailing. They take multiple takes and of course Priyadarshan. I can't miss him. Of course Priyadarshan and Mani Ratnam are the top of the line. Sanjay Leela Bansi. These three guys are very conscious about visual style. Whereas Sanjay Leela Bansali is a very classical way of composition. He will not go handled or go very stylized way of cutting or nothing he will do. Whereas Mani sir is the only person who will surprise you. Every time he tell a shot, you'll be wondering how I'm going to do this shot. So much of meaning, so much of complexities in the shot, and he doesn't tell you how to put light on it. He just give you one word, certain word. That word will trigger something in you. So that is why when you see any Mani Ratnam film, anybody shoots, whether it's Sanjay Leela, Santosh Shivan or P.C. Sriram or Ravi Varman or me or Rajiv Menon, it looks different from our work, earlier work.
Ravi, give me an example. Give me an example of a word that he would give, and that would lead to that a particular shot. Something that we would have all seen, film that you can remember.
For example, there's a film called Kannathil Muthamandal. I don't know whether you know.
Of course, I've seen.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
yeah, I've seen
yeah.
that. In that, there's a little girl, first day shooting. When I walked into the set and we are all getting ready for the setup and all, Mani sir walks in and says, "This is the scene. The girl is doing a monologue kind of thing. She's saying, 'My name is Amuda. I'm so and so. I'm studying in eighth class. This is my mother. I love my mother.' And this kind of thing she says. So she's narrating the thing to the camera kind of feel. He asked the girl, 'Where do you want to sit?' So she said, 'I'll sit in the Jula.' So then he asked me, 'How do you want to shoot this?' I thought he's joking because he's asked the kid. Then he asking me, 'How you are going to do it?' I said, 'Money, tell no.' He said, 'You tell what you want to do.' I said, 'I would rig this camera in the Jula like a Ray Charlotta kind of shot.' He said, 'Yeah, rig it.' So that's how we started. So he gives you a cue to think. So he normally tells a scene, previous scene, and he'll say where he's going to cut it and what this shot should give an impact for you. In the for an audience. He says, so give me a hitting shot. In that give me a hitting wide shot. Give me a hitting close shot. This is the term he use. So then he'll say, I want to see this and I want to see this. So you can choose your lens and start doing it. But he gives a cue, he'll give you a respect to think. He's not coming and telling you put a 50 lens and put it here, little height, nothing like that. he'll make you think for the story. So though you discussed, there you have imageries in your laptop and thought about it, you have done visual thing, but he shot incredibly fast. So you have to think really quickly, and especially when the kids are involved, then you have to be light is involved, beautiful light is there, and you have to think so fast and do the song, or do the scene, whatever it is.
One of the things that you've said in your past interviews, you said something to the effect of how when somebody sees a frame on the screen, nobody should say it's shot by an ex cameraman. No one should be conscious of that person's style. What did you exactly mean by that, Ravi?
No, if you see a film like Yuva, and the same time I shot Black. If you see Yuva and Black, it's completely poles apart. Like, no, it doesn't look like the same guy shot it. Like Firag, Nandita Firag, I shot in between Rabne Banadi Jodi and Gajani. So all three films looks completely different. It should not look like the same guy has shot this. It is for the story beat work. When you do a film like Kohli number one, the lighting has to be Kohli number one. It cannot be Maniratnam lighting. That is what I'm saying. So that you have to blend with the story, and you can create a statement out of it.
But to take the same example of Yuva, and you shot Calcutta Mail, and I distinctly remember watching both the films because they came out roughly the same time. I mean, not too far apart from each other, but it seemed to me that the same cameraman has worked on it because there was a distinctive style because maybe the setting was Calcutta and there was a grittiness to the Calcutta that one could see in Yuva that one began to see in Calcutta Mail too. Would you agree that there was a little more of you in terms of the shooting style itself between those two films?
Maybe because that's also Chawl, and there's Abhishek character was in the Chawl. Maybe that, but nobody will say Calcutta Mail and Yuva look the same because Yuva is completely different style of shooting because three characters have three different kind of lensing, stock, and color, and all these things. We're very choosy about those kind of things. Like Abhishek, we shot entirely handheld. Ajay Devgan we shot entirely on a dolly. Vivek portions we shot entirely on a telephoto lens at the shallow depth of field, so that his world is out of focus in the background because he is not looking around. Those kind of conscious decisions we made. But Mani sir never wanted those colors or anything to look like an ad film. Look, colors are there. Red is there in Abhishek portion, but it is not red is everywhere in the frame, paint on the wall, and like that. He was wanted to keep it very subtle without disturbing the story. But the money says philosophy is different in a storytelling. It doesn't. Is every film has a different kind of look. Uh, whether it's Guru or Bombay or Dil Se or any film you see, this film is very different, distinctly different from each other. Maybe his song picturization may look some similarities you can see that you can't beat it because he says how much you'll think about a song. Every film has got 5 songs. However, think about it, there is a song. That much only you can do.
Speaking of color or color palette, would that be the case when you worked with Sanjay Leela Bhansali on Black and Sawarya, that there was like a color thought of because there is a certain, especially Sawarya, and you called that the toughest shoot you've ever been on. One explained that to me a little later, but was there a conscious call where the film will have a certain color all through with Black and thereafter with Sawarya?
See, Savriya, we thought of peacock colors. If you look at it now, the green, she'll be wearing a lot of green and black and blues, other colors, and the whole film is at night. So naturally, lighting has to be a little cooler tone. A lot of people said it's too much of blue and all, but actually it is not. If you see the film now, you'll realize it is. The film didn't work for the audience. That is why people gone into the other discussion like this. For a lot of cameramen who are a big fan of Savriya, study that work and even now come and talk to me about that. For example, Sudhir Chatterjee is a very big fan of Savriya. So he has watched the film many times, and his son also. I went to his house. He's introduced his son. He said he has some questions about Savriya. So, some films you do, people don't notice it when the release happen. Many years later, they discuss about that. Like, like for example, Andha Sapna,
Right,
you
right,
know,
right, right.
the people talk about it now. That film didn't do well that time. There's a film called Sat Rank Ke Sapne, which not many people have seen that. Priyadarshan's film. We shot in the desert and all. But Sanjay Leela Bhansali loved that film. So he said, one of the main reason I wanted to work with you is that Sat Rank Ke Sapne, which other people didn't recognize, but a director like great director like Sanjay Leela Bhansali recognized that work. He really liked the work. And strangely, one day I was sitting and talking to Ritik. Ritik said, one of your finest work nobody noticed. Uh, Satran Ke Sapne, he said. I said, you saw the film? Yeah, he said, I love that film, the way you shot it. Like Ravi Varman was working in Ramlila, uh, and it is based in Rajasthan. Many locations, shots like Satran Ke Sapne. So, and he worked as an assistant then. So he said, wherever we shot, I took him and showed him that frame and all. It's a kind of a influential film for many people. Like,
But I see a larger point about how the stamp should be of the story. The stamp should be, of course, the vision. Ideally speaking, is also the directors in a larger sense, the person who's seen the film. Do you think that certain directors, the vision is a bit overbearing? It's a bit much. Is there a collaboration which you find easier to do with certain directors and not so much with certain others?
yeah, of course, that is there. That is always there. You cannot, how can you gel with another creative person? It's very difficult. We are telling two different stories actually. As a cameraman, you have to control your, artistic ideas or your cinematography ideas and tell a story. Now that after I directed a movie or now, I look at the directors with a sympathy now. How much trouble he has gone through working with cameramen like me, because I'll be going in another tangent. So, but that is what he wanted. He wanted something else, but he cannot tell it, in the storytelling. Now, when I give my camera to another person to shoot, when I direct a film, I find it very difficult to communicate with that cameraman because I have to alter his frame, I have to alter his lighting. So everything is disturbing me. So even now, Sanu Varghese, the cameraman who directed the Malayalam film, was telling the same thing. Now we all look at the directors very with out more respect actually. You know, as a cameraman, we always think about imageries only. So, the director wanted to tell a story. So for him, that close-up is needed. For me, the long shot is beautiful. So when they in the edit they remove the long shot and go for the close-up, we get angry and go and talk to the director. That long shot is so beautiful. Why you did? But he doesn't want it. But kills the scene. So that happens. So whenever there's a trailer comes, we normally every cameraman will call and say rubbish. They cut it and they say it's a rubbish. The trailer looks shit. Like my son started working now. He has shot Kabir Singh and all. So when Kabir Singh trailer came, also he came and showed it multiple times. They didn't use the good shots. I said, relax, buddy. They use the good shots for the story. The trailer working. So you shut up now.
The hardcore Bollywood buffs might want to know, for instance, while it might seem the same to them when you're watching a Aditya Chopra movie or a Karan Johar movie, but when you work with both of them, and Aditya Chopra is very different from Karan Johar, would you agree? And how different would they be on a set, for instance?
Aditya Chopra hasn't directed too many films. So he is a creative producer, but he hasn't directed too many films. He has directed a cult film like Didi LJ, but then he took some time to direct the next one. Then he took some time, like four films maybe Adi has done, 4 5 films I think. So Adi was very clear about what he wants to do in the sense extremely planned, extremely precise about what he wants to do. He won't even take unwanted shots, nothing. He edit the dialogues, everything on the paper only. So when he narrated the script to whole team, he read the screen, play with the music bit, and here it's going to come. Exactly he shot it. He didn't waste time on anything. It's precise and very, very precise. He got what he wants. On the other hand, Karan is very, very open. Karan, when I did My Name is Khan, if you look at My Name is Khan now, it is the most different, story wise, as shot taking wise, very, very different from Karan's other films. I told Karan, Karan, we should not put this trolley with the la 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 la, that kind of trolley and all, you should not put. So when he says some trolley and all, I said, no, Karan, he said, okay, okay. How you are going to do this? Like, tell me. So, like that, he was giving us complete freedom. It's a delight to work with that kind of setup because uh, for a cameraman, you can explore a lot. My Name is Khan is the only film in 25 years of Indian cinema in camera image. Only Indian film been nominated for Golden Frog Award, and we got nominated among Inception, Black Swan, Darren Aronofsky. We saw My Name is Khan. Chris Nolan. Yeah, so all these guys were there. I called Karan to come. He didn't realize it's a big festival. Everybody was there, like the world's best Vittorio Storaro to Vilmos Zsigmond to Von Kar Wai to everybody was there to see these films. So they all there in watching My Name is Khan also. So what I'm trying to say is that that is a very, very different film. I got the camera image nomination, which is a for us, it's as good as an Oscar nomination, actually, because it is selected by only five cameramen. It is it is selected by only by the Oscar-winning cameramen as a jury member.
Fabulous, fascinating. I mean, in terms of directors, and given the vast variety that you worked with, and we've spoken briefly about Karan Johar, of course, Aditya Chopra, Mani Ratnam, Priyadarshan seems to be one of your favorites as well. How cued in are they in terms of pre-production with, let's say, storyboarding? Is that a common thing, Ravi? Storyboarding is itself, is that something?
Storyboarding is not happening unless you do visual effects. When you're doing visual effects only, they do storyboarding and in a previous and all they're doing extensively now. Suppose if you have an actor like Akshay Kumar, he has certain time to certain dates only he has. So whatever action scenes and all it has to be storyboarded. If you involve Mr. Bachchan or Salman Khan, it's better to have a extreme planning for that so that you will not waste their time and utilize that time correctly. Otherwise, if you rigging the camera and that moment when they're waiting on the set, you lose that time. So that happens. But none of the films I worked had storyboards.
Given your body of work and also how eclectic you've been in terms of the films that you've chosen to do, what happens when your sensibilities don't match with the director you're working with? Is there a point where you feel like, what the am I doing here, like what's going on? I'm sure that's happened to you in the past.
That happens many times. See, it is like you order some food, you get something, but it's not tasting the way it should be. It's like that only. So when you read the script, it might be sounding nice, or big production house, big actors are there. Then you go there, everybody is dictating terms, and they're that and all giving opinions. So you're not able to perform the way you should be performing for the story or for the production. Then you walk out most of the time, or if you're not bold enough, you sit there and digest the thing and
Do as
finish
you're
the
told.
film and come out. Do as you're told and finish and come. It's a question of you want to make the film or finish the film. You want to make the film, you make the film. If you want to finish the film, finish the film. So if you don't want to be part of certain thing, just walk out.
Have you ever walked out of film? Did you walk out of Agnipath, the second one?
Yeah, I walked out of Agnipath, difference of opinion with certain things. So I couldn't continue with that. So what I'm saying is, if you don't walk out, then you're not doing justice for the job money you are getting. So it's better stay away from those kind of things. So everybody said you'll never get a film in Hindi cinema. I said fine. It's not going to kill me. So. And then after that, I worked many films. With the Dharma production itself, I worked six films later. So whoever said that didn't know what to do now. You should know what you're doing actually. Then you can step out. If you're thinking, oh, my career is going to end, let this career end. No, you don't need a career like that. If somebody is not respecting your work, then it's not worth doing it, I think.
Right. I mean, apart from being a top DOP, Ravi, you've also someone who can pride himself on being a film school of your own, and I know that that's how cinematographers in usually rise up. Is that there is an apprentice system. The apprentice works with a with a well-known, experienced camera person, and thereafter takes over at some point. I mean, you mentioned some of these names. Ravi Varman has been your assistant. You mentioned Chandran has been your assistant. Have there been other assistants who turned out to be DOPs in their own right that you can remember? And what did you teach them? What are the lessons that you've taught them, or do they just learn from by looking at you?
There are 30 cameramen are there in the industry now, or my assistants. So I can't, like Sanu Varghese, Manikandan worked with me for some time. Amit Roy also worked with me. Then, Neha Parthi, Hari Vetandam, Ayanka Bose, Ravi Varman. Even the Bahubali Senthil also worked in some point and with me. South, many cameramen like R.D. Rasher worked with me. There are many cameramen, Vishal Sinha, Vishal Navlaka, guys worked with me. So around 30 cameramen are there in the industry yet.
So what is it? What is it? They're just watching you at work, or how does it work?
How I became a cameraman, I worked with Rajiv Menon and my brother. Then the work comes. When somebody comes to work with me, I always keep two people. Another two people we'll keep as an apprentice in the beginning. Once these two people are experienced, say 3 years later, then I'll get them a film. I'll go and tell Adi or Karan or own production house, give these guys one film. I'm going to push them into it. Like that, Neha Parthi or Manoj, all of them, even Anka Bose, all of these people, like I recommend this first film or second film. So even now, when I get a film, if I can't do it, they say, "Can you suggest somebody?" Tell one assistant name. He must be free. So I'll coordinate with those guys and make that. Because if I'm not doing the film, somebody should do it. That's how I have done. So every 3 years, 4 years later, I send them away. I just push them into the water and they swim. After that, they're on their own. I should not feel comfortable working with my assistants in the sense he'll take care. He is trained. So he'll take care of my day. Cannot be my situation. I have to have a new assistant so that I will have to look into all the details. So my mind will be sharp. I'll do all the test, camera test. I'll be wondering whether this fellow will do something. So I'll be on my toes in my set. I don't want to sit and relax. Chalo, you light up the scene. I'll come. No, I don't want to do that. So I always send these guys who is experienced with me. Once they finish their experience, they're good on their own. Then I'll get them in the film and send them. I'll get a new batch. So every time I have a new batch, I have to learn everything to latest camera, latest equipment. I have to learn to teach them and do my work also. I cannot, depending on them. They are depending on me. That is the situation I keep. That is why maybe after 30 years also I still get to work with all the good directors or good films coming to me. Means that is because I still learn every new technique. Now it is rapidly coming. See, earlier one film camera in black and white days to say Agnipath till Agnipath or Ramlila time, there's the same system. 24 frames per second only it was running. But now digital comes from 2K to 4K to 8K has come and cameras have become sizes getting smaller, lenses are changing, format is changing. So every day rapidly system is changing. So then now there's interview, we would have done sitting face to face in a coffee shop. Now we are sitting in a new format, reverse side. So we are adapting to it, right? So we are trying to learn this. This is what happens now. Earlier, once you learn this film technology, that was there. One camera, if you buy, World War II camera can be shot in a Dil Chahta Hai, can be used in Dil Chahta Hai, kind of. Because that same system was working. Now the system has changed. 5 years back, digital camera, you can't use it now. Nobody wants to touch it. So you need to know what is a new technology every day. New lights have come, LED lights have come. Everything can be operated. Now there is something going to come. Like if you give a script to the say a lighting gaffer team, and they're going to come with a app which all worldwide best gaffers are there who are interested will do the lighting for your set from remotely, and they'll design the lighting and show it to you. 5 options: a shaft light you want, this backlight you want, whatever light you are saying, they'll do virtually and give it to you. and you don't need to go to the set. The set will be lit with your iPad or iPhone. You can change the lighting from day to night to everything will be pre-lit. So you don't need assistants to do it. Earlier we used to say five Savriya, we had 8 assistants to do things. Now you have a gaffer, you tell him, he'll fix everything. You don't need an assistant to do it. So that system is changing now. And also with the digital, you put the camera, you are ready to shoot. You switch off few lights, you get the contrast, you start shooting. So what you're going to do extra, this anybody can do it. This realistic dark mode you can do. But how you're going to tell a story in different lighting, that is what the lighting matters. You see a No Country for Old Men, it looks so different from a Blade Runner or a Prisoners. So that's what it is.
I know it's a big conversation going on across the world, and Christopher Nolan also came down to Bombay. I distinctly remember a couple of DOPs actually signed up that they'll never work on anything but film because film needs to be preserved. Do you personally have any preferences or philosophical differences, or with the idea of digital versus film?
From my experience, I would say there's a extreme discipline was there in shooting on film. What happens is when you put a camera, because it's every feet is money, 10 feet runs in money. So it's not a hard drive, you just erase it. So every piece is processing cost, buying cost, bringing it there. And so the whole negative, then printing, all these things, money. So you cannot unnecessarily waste footage. So when the camera rolls, everybody is kind of holding their breath to take the shot. There's a meditation happening there in the set. Now that is gone. Cameras keep running. They director walk in, talk to the actor, come back. Somebody is doing touch up, keep rolling. Then they say take two. Then they start the dialogue like that and all happening. So it throws you off first of all. But that is the norm now. That is how things are happening now. Number of hard drives are going, and no, I don't know who is seeing this in the editing in those shots. Somebody with the edit report send it to them, so they with the clip number they just rest of the things goes into waste. So this is what happens. That discipline has gone. First of all, there is to be some magic happen when we are shooting uh, on film, which is called, famously called happy accidents. You would have panned and some flare would have come. Now, when you pan it, we don't know this flare has come or not. Now you know with the digital, you see the flare immediately. You say there's a flare there that you remove it and all. When those days, when you're shooting on film, when you see the rushes, director is seeing his film for the first time in a different eye. I remember vaguely Manirathnam was telling once, when he was doing Dil Se, there's no video assistant. No. You shoot the film, you come back in Ladakh, you shoot all the episodes, and you come back to Chennai, process it, and then you go and see the rushes. He didn't know that Santosh was shooting so tight. He didn't know it was a full, so much of wide. But it's a surprise for him. And it's a very happy moment. Sometimes you get angry, sometimes you get really high. That surprise for a director has gone. That is one part. As a cinematographer, there are some latitudes, some magic was happening in the grains and things. Apart from this, it's a nightmare. Shooting on a digital a film. Digital is far superior because it's a finer version. You know the footage then and there. You know the how it is going to come. Even earlier, when you project the film, first day only the film will look clean. Next day the scratches will happen in the print because in the operator theater the guy will wind it, projectionist will wind it in the night and hit it, so that the dust will create a scratch. Even the projector, that plate will have small dust. It will create a scratch. So if you see a black screen, some black portion in the film, it will have scratches running. I remember once I was shooting a film with Manirathnam, Kannathil Muthamittal. Suddenly when we were shooting, a little drizzle came. I said, Mani, it's drizzling, we'll shoot, we'll wait for the. He said, no, no, shoot. After the second day, the whole film will have drizzle only. He said, The scratches will be
Right, right,
there
right,
over there,
right, right, right.
So he said, this drizzle will not be seen. Nobody noticed it actually after second day. So, so that is the thing. And also the processing was a dangerous thing. Now this sound guy has vanished. Suddenly in the lab, something will happen. Generator will go con and the negative will get stuck in the bath or processing time. Your shooting is whatever you shot for 10 days is gone. Those kind of things happened. In Virasat also happened. Those are nightmares. So when the till the print is ready, you see the rushes. Actually, we used to get a heart attack. So I hate to go to the lab to see the rushes. Director is watching, everybody is watching you now. You are stripped, naked. Here it is not like that. When you keep the camera, everybody sees us. So everybody knows what we have shot. That time it is not like that. They're going to judge you. You said the shot is good and the location. Now you come from Rajasthan and see it in Chennai. That shot is not good. It is slightly out of focus. Some flare has come. Then everybody will turn and look at you. That moment is gone.
What about other related technologies, Ravi? Also, like in terms of the different types of cameras. Do you have any pet peeves, things that you just totally hate about? Say, for instance, the number of drone shots one sees in movies is just like a film after film, everything has a drone shot and just goes on. For instance, would that be something that might be a pet peeve for you? Or do you have any others that really piss you off, like in terms of overdoing something because technology allows for it?
See, now with this GoPro and other things, small cameras have come. So if you do in a lot of South films, you will notice a lot of this phantom cameras has come, which is ultra slow motion fights happening. So that is one thing will come. All the stunt choreographer wanted that shots. You know, people are flying and slow motion hero is walking and all those things. So this thing will come, you have to choose the film if you don't like this. You have to choose the film which you wanted to do, where you have some control over it. But day by day, the cinematographer job became more and more out of control for me, actually. We don't have any control over your composition or anything because in the edit, they'll zoom in the shot and crop it also because they want the close up. I heard in Roger Deakins' conversation abroad, grading also done by editors and color correction is done by the editors and the post production VFX guys, where DOP is not going there. So he is no more in control over this his imageries. Only big DPs who has some control can fight it out. Other younger guys are letting it go.
With this whole VFX thing, Ravi, is that something that you also come across where they just say, we'll fix it at the post? Something that you couldn't do before, you couldn't fix everything at the post, something that you can do now?
Suppose I'm in a low ceiling room, I want to put a light, but there's no place to put a light. There's no window or anything. I put a light in the frame and I'll clean it up in post. A lot of cameramen are doing that. Like they fix the lights in the frame only and clean it up in the post. That has become a easy tool for us actually. But fixing up in post has become the now cleaning up actors' faces
Yeah,
most of the
yeah.
time. So if they get a double chin, you put a shade there, and if they have a weight difference, we stress them. All these things we do.
How much of a VFX budget actually goes in fixing the actor's face?
No, that has become a part of the package.
Is part of the package.
Part of the package. There's no separate money for it. It is DA. VFX guys are part of the thing is cleaning up their faces only. Under eye bags and all these things.
Making six
Age.
packs.
Age, age also a big factor. So, if the actor is above 50, there's obviously you need to correct the skin. It is not their mistake, I would say. Earlier also 50-year older actors were acting as, whether Devanand or Dilip Kumar or all these people acted as heroes. That time film was not so sharp. It had this softness to it naturally. Those lenses are not so sharp, and the projections were really average. So you see little softer image only. I'm telling you, as a cameraman, I never seen a sharper image projection anywhere other than in the lab. Otherwise, in any theater, you go with your trailer and just put it, it will break your heart because it is really, really bad. Out of focus. One side is haze. So one kind of projection is bluish. So you are not getting the same color of the, I remember I went with Karan Johar to see My Name is Khan projection, trailer in a big theater in Bombay, one of the famous theaters. So when Karan came, the manager, everybody came. There's a film, Hangover is playing. End the scene we are watching because we want the, night show. After the night show, last show, we wanted to see our trailer. So we are waiting for that film to finish. So we are standing. So Karan he was turned and said, Ravi, is it looking out of focus this center or should I wear my glasses? I didn't bring my glasses at all. He said, is it looking only for me? I said, no, it's out of focus. So the manager said, yeah, sir, it is out of focus in the center. So then the sound also we are not getting in the right side. Yeah, yeah, the speakers are not working. So Karan said, why should I watch my trailer here? I want to check the sound and the imagery. So the image is going to be out of focus in the center. He said, yeah, we have been telling the management for the past 6 months. They haven't fixed it. So this is the way the main projection, theater where Karan Johar wanted to see his print happens. So now with the digital, it's all changed. Even when you're doing a film with a Sara Ali Khan or a young actor like Ayushmann Khurrana or anybody, we need to certain places we need to touch their face because the lenses are so sharp. See, I don't see your face up close like this in ever. I'll be seeing you in 2 feet away or 1 feet away, but I will not come so close and look at you to see all the pose. And with the digital camera, if you take a tight close-up, naturally anybody's skin, the world's most beautiful girl or handsome actors, face will have wrinkles because the lenses are so sharp and the imagery, 4K imagery is so sharp. So that film days, actors were looking very soft and beautiful because of the natural, softness in the projection, lenses, film, all these things made a blend. So they were all looking gorgeous. Now the same actors come and act with the youngest actor you shoot with them also. You need to touch little bit certain places. That is inevitable. So this comes in the VFX budget automatically.
Also, whether one likes it or not, Ravi, and because we're talking about hardcore mainstream commercial film industry, so star driven in the first place, and also because of that vanity driven also, I think looks is far more important. Have you had situations, because you are the person who can control how they look, have you had like these really vain type stars situations where they like constantly looking at how you're shooting them? Have you had those situations too? In 30 years, I'm sure you have.
Every actor, every actress has studied their face. They know about their face very well. So they always come and tell what is the best angle they look better. They'll warn you in the beginning of the film only. For example, Amir has a problem for under eye problem of low angle lighting. If you put, it doesn't work for him. He knows that. So he come and tell you in the beginning only. So in Dilchada itself, he told me this is what my problem area. You know how to deal that. So you don't have to search for it after 2 days. I will tell you what my problems are. So like that, every actor has a problem area. When I was shooting a Coolie number 1, first shot I put a low angle because she's standing on top. Sara Ali Khan I'm shooting with. Sarah was plumpy earlier, then she lost her weight. Now, when she's lost her weight, also, but she is thinking when you put a low angle, you see the double chin. So he said, why are you shooting low angle first shot itself? So I had to explain to her this shot has to be like this. The rest of the film, you don't worry about it. So they know this angle doesn't work for me. You know, so that they tell.
What would be Shah Rukh Khan's favorite angle, for instance, to be shot in?
Shah Rukh never told me uh, anything. Shah Rukh is not that kind of person. Like, no, he never came and said anything. Amir also not bothered about those things. He said only this thing in Dil Chahta Hai time. This light doesn't suit me because he has seen his lighting. So he said, if you put one light like this, it doesn't suit me. So when we did the test, camera test and all, he mentioned that I tested it and I avoided that light. So I worked 3 films with him. He was very clear about why this light doesn't work. Like that, Katrina Kaif has a thing for her face, and all of them have that one thing about that, which angle looks good because they would have taken so many photographs, studied their face, they would have corrected it, and so they all know. It is very important to understand that and put it in your uh, system.
Because this podcast is called the Bombay film story, I want to know from you, and we are talking about movie stars right now, and I'm not going to say vanity is still their job, how they look on screen. What's been your craziest Bombay film star story? Something that's happened on a set that you like. It could be a good story, it could be a bad story, it could be something that you were like, that's something you remember over a drink. That's one story you always tell. It could be about anyone that you worked with.
See, Amir is everybody says he's a perfectionist and all those things. But Amir is a very, very funny guy, actually. Actually, I did 3 films with him. He never interfered with the director ever. I asked him, like, you're supposed to take multiple takes, and he never took any multiple takes in Dil Chahta Hai or be it Gadini or Fana. He never took any more takes or anything like that. The funniest story about Amir does everything to the extreme. In the sense, workout means he'll do workout. So continuously, he'll do, those kind of things. He's very precise in those kind of. So once Murugadas and me and all went to a farmhouse to discuss about this film, and he said, "Give me 15 minutes to sleep because I didn't sleep in the." He said, "Yeah, yeah, we will be sitting here and we'll chatting and all." He slept in front of us only. He slept. He didn't get up for 3 4 hours, and we don't know what to do. Then his assistant was waking him up. He's not getting up only. He's like dead. So he woke up very late after that. So then he woke up and said, once I slept for one full day uh, when I was alone, and the dogs were not given food, so they were barking. And that milkman came and put milk, and nobody was opening the house. 2 days milk was outside, so they thought something wrong. They called the police. Police came. They called somebody. Called his mother. His mother also came, and somebody went up and opened the door, and they all walked in, and he's sleeping. They went and woke him up. He got up and what happened? Mother gave him a slap, I believe. So Amir was telling this story. So he said, when I do things, he'll be doing it for longer time. So that is his quirkiness. So
And again, I'm going to remind our listeners, our audience, as it were, that this conversation is taking place on June 10, 2021. At this point, as we speak, Ravi is working on a film as a director, which is what I found fascinating. And I'm going to end this conversation with that. A very simple question. You are remaking Andhadhun in Malayalam, if I'm not mistaken.
yes, yes.
According to a lot of film buffs, that is pretty much a perfect film. What made you pick a film like Andhadhun to remake? Is it because you're going to do something differently within it, or is it because the audience has not seen the Hindi version in the first place?
So when I saw the film, I thought it is not a Hindi film. It's like a Malayalam film because the piano and Christian background and all these things. So strangely, I felt it could have been a very good Malayalam film. Why they made it in Hindi? That's what I thought. So then I spoke to Sriram Raghavan, and he said very interestingly. So he wanted Dulkar to play the lead, and he couldn't somehow contact him or something went wrong, and Ayushman acted in the role. So Dulkar was supposed to do the Malayalam actor was supposed to do this film, and he went and saw a location in Cochin where I shot. The whole thing has that Malayalam smell to it. So when I saw the film, I thought it's a perfect Malayalam film because in Cochin, a lot of Christian community is there, and pianos, churches, and all these things are there. So Jews of Cochin and all this, that Matajeri, that area itself has got that flavor. So I thought this film should be done in Malayalam. So we wanted to do the film, and we went and approached Sriram Raghavan and got the film. So we have done certain things differently, and it is incidentally happening in Telugu and Tamil also. They are doing remakes of Telugu film in Telugu version and Tamil. Very rarely Hindi film will be remade in Tamil or Malayalam. Normally, South films only remade in Hindi. So, for example, Dilwale nobody remade, or Lagan Dil Chahta Hai nobody remade in Tamil or any other language. If you look at it, Three Idiots they made it in Tamil, I think. Otherwise, Munna Bhai has been remade. Otherwise, they didn't remake majorly Hindi films into Tamil recently, or Malayalam and all.
Totally, totally get it. All the best with everything, Ravi. I think one of the great things that you also introduced me to personally is a fabulous podcast, Roger Deakins podcast. I've been following a few of the conversations with, say, Thomas Winterberg, Sam Mendes, Joel Cohen. But I have to say that this particular conversation really ranks right up there. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking time. It's been a pleasure, Ravi.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be honored and to be in this midday podcast.
Subscribe to Midday India. Get direct notifications on all our videos by clicking on the bell icon.